not be televised.
Hi. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome you to the Rejected Stone podcast. We're pleased to be with you this afternoon. We're live as always, live at 5 on Friday night. If it's Friday night at 5, you know it's time for Rejected Stone. So let's do it right now. I want to first of all just thank my co-host, of course, uh, uh, the always ready, always on it,
Yes,
always with
sir.
his finger on the pulse of several issues that we talk about here. The good Dr. Jarvis Watson. Greetings, sir. How you doing today?
Peace, peace. It is Friday. Wish I was in my backyard, but I am with you all today, which is just as great. It's been a really humbling week this week and really productive, and I'm just glad I'm on the air with three of my favorite people outside of my wife and my fam. So it's good to be here today. I got my hat to the back because it's a bad hair day. Yes, sir. For the hair that I do have.
That's all right, my man. So when we also, are joined today uh, by one person who's not a stranger to Rejected Stone podcast. Neither are. They've both been instrumental, actually, in various ways in terms of our development and how we've grown with this. And that's really kind of the theme of tonight's episode is the check-in, chance to check in. This is our 5th episode doing the Rejected Stone podcast. We've been, had the pleasure of speaking with so many different people and bringing up different issues that really, make a difference and are happening in real time out in our communities. And so it's always an honor and a pleasure to have Rayna back. I've mentioned her since she's been on the show before, and some folks may remember. And Rayna is involved in all manner of different things. Comes with a rich a background in terms of higher ed and higher ed work with students and student development. She also does a lot of work these days in politics. She was reporting live from the polls last night, keeping us, up on what's happening. Because certainly voting and all the issues that are happening right now are so critical and key. So, Rayna, welcome. It's good to see you. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you for having me again, y'all.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
And then, Doc, you want to introduce
Oh
our
man,
brother? I know I've known him for a while and had the honor of calling this man student once. And see what he's doing now is nothing short of just inspiring. But I'll let you, since you've known him longer.
trying to say it's about getting choked up, but this is future Dr. Randy Ferguson. See, I'm always putting to the next level there, brother. But this is a young man who I had the pleasure of recruiting, had on my caseload, and wonderful education opportunity program at Stony Brook University, the best SUNY in the state of New York, best EOP in the state of New York. Worked with me with SOB, Student African American Brotherhood, from just being a member to one of the most, I would say, successful presidents that we've had. Worked with me with the he was at the Higher Education Administration master's program. Also was working with me in many other jobs on campus. As I say, working in campus residence, working with the Office of Multicultural Affairs, working with campus rec with Deron and Sheldon, and then just a wonderful brother to know. Has inspired many people, have set off many demonstrations and keeping people conscious. I would say the young conscious on campus before people knew what the word conscious was. Was one of the first members of to kind of reinvigorate the Black Student Union. Please recognize your ancestors, y'all out there who are part of BSU. But I can really call him my friend, my colleague, and he is now the assistant director of admissions at PIAC University up in Connecticut. So people give some love to Mr. Randy Ferguson.
That's on my,
Yeah,
Now, it's a pleasure of being here. You forgot one thing too, brother. I don't know if you're going to talk about that afterwards.
Are you talking about what? The DJ and stuff?
Yeah.
See, that's the segue. You see, you jumping the gun. See, I was about to say one more thing he does, because that's going to be what Doc was talking about, because we wanted to help you all out there listening to understand that we use a lot of home folk in what we do. Everything we do is connected to family. And for those who all you hear the intro, we can play that for you a little bit later, but Randy was the engineer behind that. So thank you for jumping the gun on that, Randy. And but we got to give props where props is due. So we want to make sure we saw and heard your voice today. And Doc, I don't know if you want to add in anything.
yeah, no, right, and so in the tradition of the check-in and just kind of like laying back and taking a look at things, you know, aside from our professional worlds, all of us, we have other work and so forth that we do, and so Randy is a known DJ, and basically just um, turntablist, everything you could imagine. Whose work has been really like actually getting well known out there. Um, Aside from putting together the piece he did for us, he's done a lot of production work and a lot of in studio time, studio work with artists, with various different creatives. He has a lot of skills in this area: production, engineering, sound, mixing, you name it. And he can also, most importantly, I've been to parties that he has rocked, and he can definitely rock a party, that's for sure. And it's when we needed music for the podcast, it was the first. We didn't even look anywhere else. It was like, that's the person to ask. I knew it. It's weird how all these things overlap, because we've all had various relationships and stuff, either working with each other, working for each other in some cases, and then student teacher and so on. But it's all about growth and development, and the family, and staying in touch and stuff like that. So that's what we do. We look out for one another. So, but anyway, okay, Randy. Now you hit him with the name, because that's I remember the old one, but I don't know the new joint. What's
do the AKAs, man? Yeah.
So I got AKAs. Now I call myself DJ RMX.
Say it again.
DJ RMX.
RMX. See, that's it. I didn't want to like put out the old joint, because I knew
DJ
that.
I remember the Velvet Bedroom, the radio show is Silky Smooth. I blame Deron for that. But it was called.
Shout out to Deron.
I think you co-signed it too, Jarvis, and I was like, oh, there it is. So
yo, hey man,
Yes.
That show was killer.
Think about it from day to day.
Talk to us about this. What show? What is it?
Oh, so back in 2015, I was like one of the rare students that worked in WSB and had his own radio show. It was called The Velvet Bedroom. And it ran for like 3 years. I was like off for like 6 months when I graduated and go back, but then when I came back, that spot was so sitting for me, which was pretty cool. Shout out to Isabel, by the way, from WSB. But yes, that spot was just right there. I told Isabel, like, hey, I'm back. You want me to do the radio show? She's like, your spot never left. So I was like, perfect. So this came back. But no, it was really great, because that was, I want to say, the first time I put on Stony Brook students on the spot on a radio show promoting their things. I remember having Danielle Myers come in and reading poems before she blew up, Right. I remember bringing in a few girls from Black Women's Association, Diana Green, and the other one, I forgot her name. But now they're like blow up Instagram, not models, but personalities now, Mm-hmm. I saw people, I have people who are doing this stuff already, and I heard about it. Like, just come through my radio show, just talk about it. And then always play the good music. But I think what was pretty cool that I brought into the radio show was Dean Timothy Eklund, which was dean at the time at Stony just to hear that a dean of students coming to a student's radio show at 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
That says a lot. There's a lot. But what I really enjoyed about the radio show was just my freedom, creative freedom. I never really had anybody restricted me. I'm saying you can't do that. And I knew the audience that was out there. And what I really wanted to talk about on that show was just music, love, and I'm gonna say that love. I'm gonna say that love part at the end too. But it was important for people to hear, especially in that tiny area of Suffolk County, to have a student of color playing 70s and 80s music, but also touching on relevant issues. And I remember even when I had a call, it was like at 1 o'clock in the morning when I was doing one of my long radio marathons, that somebody called me and said, "Hey, I'm working and it was a hospital. It was a janitor, and I just turned on 90.1. I'm hearing you playing freaking Barry White, and I'm gonna say I love this. I'm staying on.
That's hot, man."
And 20-year-old Randy is like, yeah, I got them. WBLS ain't got nothing on me.
Yo, you know, yeah, you said 2 o'clock in the morning.
So sometimes when Wayne and Jarvis was Wayne, sometimes he would come on, and then the next guy Ike, who does the hip hop show on WSB, sometimes he couldn't come in, and sometimes he was calling me during the series, he's like, "Hey, I can't come in. Can you just cover it for me?" I was like, "Yeah, no problem." So, and I remember like Labor Day back in 2015, I was in that I was in the station from like 10 all the way till 3 in the morning, just DJing and playing music. And that's something that was fun. That was fun to do. I got tired, yeah, but it was fun to do.
Yeah. What was that experience like? We jumped to Rayna a little bit. But what was that experience like being on the mic for the first time? Because I've known you to love music. I don't know if everybody knows this, but you're like the biggest Prince fan I've ever seen, next to Carl Hasty, Assemblyman, Honorable Carl Hasty, and Chris Vargas. Like you are like the Prince aficionado. If I said Paisley Park, what is that? How would you respond to that?
You want to talk about the record label, the studio, or the song?
See what I'm talking about? All right. So my thing is, when you on a mic for the first time, you realize like even after you made that connection with that janitor, who was probably one of the most important people that you really want to respect in the building. How did that feel?
To be on the mic. I always thought that I was always ready to be on the mic, just give me it, and I already know in my head what I want to structure, what I want to say, where I want to go with this conversation. That's already in my head. So if you just place me in front of the mic or give me some time to go on the mic, I'll be ready. I remember the first time when I came on the radio show, I had a cover Wayne show, and I called that the Quiet Storm with Soul Glow Bistro. And I'm pretty sure the Quiet Storm is copyright infringement. So I had to change that real quick.
We do not endorse.
For the ghost of I forgot the radio guys' names. I'm coming to that. Quiet Storm is my name. But nevertheless, just going on the mic the first time, I was really nervous. Again, I don't know who's listening, but it took time and weeks just to feel confident, and then I kind of made the studio into my own atmosphere. So like I just turn off the lights, and all the lights I have is just from the computer or whatever's on the board. That's the only lights that I have, and I just zone out and I just speak whatever's on my mind, but not trying to be disrespectful, but just speak on my mind, and hopefully people will relate to it.
But you know what? I think that if anybody knows Randy, that's what you do. I don't think there's anything that's genuine about you. Whatever's in your mind, you're going to say, you're going to speak. And I'm loving the fact that, you took whatever experience you had on that microphone in school. Now you're in a place of influence. You're doing the same thing. You don't have a microphone, but you do have that telephone. You do have that Zoom. You do have that opportunity to use your voice and use your experience to help bring
You know,
more people in. Yeah.
funny enough, before we go to Rayna, today I like early in the morning, 9:30, I had to do a virtual info session with students from South Bronx, UPS High School, no UPC High School. That's in the South Bronx. Like for an hour and a half, I was just captivated by these students, like, just like legit listening to me and being silent, and they're like coming into the ninth grade, and I'm like, yo, I still remember me graduating from eighth grade, going through the same summer bridge program they're going through, not thinking, oh, college. I'm not even thinking that. I'm thinking about how to enjoy high school. I'm trying to figure out where can I fit in, And I had to tell them, I was like, listen, I'm going to talk a lot of details about college. You're going to hear a lot of like mumbo jumbo words, right? But I try to break it down to them so they can understand, and I let them know, like, listen, I know y'all coming to ninth grade. One thing I say to y'all, just enjoy high school. Enjoy it the best way you can. But I also told them, always keep college on the horizon. If you just decide to go, because we need you. We need all the students that are watching the screen right now. You are the future. You're the ones that can make the change. So don't put off college in your head, but also just keep your mind open and see where changes you can be. Because right now, with the time we're in right now, we are changing. And it looks slow, but we're changing. Got to give it some time, but we'll be there. And I found I was like, you know what? Shoot, now I'm of inspiration. Now I'm a Rayna or a Jarvis or a Duran or a Dr. Molesky or anybody or a Sheldon. I got that influence. So I'm trying to get to that Sheldon level. I just don't give a damn. I'll make the damn point, but that point is made.
Right on.
Right.
You got there.
Oh man, go ahead, man.
No, go ahead, Doc.
No, I was just gonna say that's positive stuff. I think it's. By the way, I'm glad you mentioned WUSB. Shout out to WUSB, which this podcast airs on Wednesdays at 12 so far, and we'll see about getting a permanent slot. We hope, but yeah, man. But that's it's funny because the DNA of this podcast and this whole discussion, really, you have more to do with it than you probably might think. Just like, because I remember when you were a student, I remember you doing the show. I remember trying to catch it a few times. I heard sometimes on Facebook, and it was rare for somebody that young to be into like old school, music. And also, I don't know how the sisters felt about it, Rayna, like the Quiet Storm. That's supposed to be, that's that hour. That's that time to, for like, for talking. I mean, and things.
I said, Rayna, jump in and save it.
Time for talking.
Randy, this is all your fault. It's what this now. But I mean, like that, like you were on campus in those times, in that time for sure, right?
Yeah, I mean, being there and just knowing that as a student he had such an impact was amazing. I think, like you were saying before, we all have had just intertwined relationships to the point where we've watched you grow in different aspects of our careers and aspects of our education and things like that. And to know that, Randy was a pillar during that time for student advocacy and, prosperity for the campus, change and growth, I think that's amazing. And I think that students need to understand that it's not always just the administrators who have power and influence over, change and growth at a university, that it's them too. And they need to take their position as students very seriously, because the things that they can advocate for are the things that will be, staples moving forward. And, I just always encourage students to continuously advocate for themselves and obviously do it where there's holes, fill those holes. There's nothing that should be, off limits in terms of growth and change. And Randy is a prime example of something like that. You have a radio station that has had a long-standing history, but for him to come in and say, hey, why don't we do this, why don't I try this, and then take over and blow up in that capacity. I think that's amazing, and that's a testament of just kind of fitting in a space where you may not have thought that you would ever do that, and then taking it and running with it. And I think that as our young Black brothers and sisters, we need to continuously encourage them to do that and to make noise and fight for the things that they believe in. We have certain, they have certain things on campus because of the Randys, certain foods, certain spaces, because of students like Randy and him having the ability to rally other students behind them. I think some of that gets lost every few years. It ebbs and flows, and I think that ultimately this is the time now. This is the time where students can really take heed to that and allow their impact to be felt widespread.
Yeah. I'm really impressed, just like sitting there looking at the screen right now and just like hearing and seeing you both, because I was like, I guess, mentors to both of you all in different capacities. And shout out to your sister, Rayna, who's she got a birthday coming up pretty soon. Until respect to all the Leos out there. And I know that when I met Rayna, her sister was like, "Jarvis, take care of her. Don't let nothing happen to her. And she's good. Your care." And it was almost like, "Well, let me come up there all the way from D State, and then have to check you, because y'all from Brooklyn. I don't mess with Brooklyn. Y'all come in that fire and that flame. I'm not trying to catch that bullet." So, but to see where you're at now, how do you describe mentorship? And do you mentor young ladies now in your area? And then Randy, I can throw it up to you second. But mentorship, what does that mean to y'all?
I honestly think that it's one of the most important factors about student engagement, and I don't think that we talk about that enough. We throw this word mentor around. Oh, I'm a mentor. But it's really a matter of sustaining and creating an organic relationship. And to me, a mentor is somebody who can go just far beyond the classroom or your academic. Somebody who has influence on your life, because there's aspects of your life that if you make one decision, everything else will follow. And it's funny you say, because one of Jarvis and I, we used to teach this course, a leadership course, and we met this young lady who we like fell in love with. And it was just like, we were mentoring her on two different levels. And shout out to Taisha Saintville, that is my girl. And it's so funny.
Man.
Why I have this shirt on today.
Whoa. You want to pause on that shirt? Because you need to let people know what's happening with that shirt.
I can do all things through Black women who strengthen me. I don't even know if you can see that, but
right on.
She actually got me this shirt, and it was based on a relationship that we had grown out of an instructor and student relationship, and it surpassed that. And that's what I mean about mentorship. Mentorship has the possibility to influence you in so many different ways, and I think that we don't talk about that enough in our communities and what it means to network and sustain real relationships. I think this screen today is a complete testament to that. Jarvis and I developed a relationship when I was a student, and it was like, wow, this is somebody that I can look up to. This is somebody that I can learn from. This is somebody that, I'm going to stick close to. And because of that, I got, internships and a car and an apartment and just things like that that you wouldn't would go with mentorship, but it does. It's having somebody who can really put a battery in your back to say, you can do that, you can have these things, you have the skill sets, let me teach you the tricks of the trade. And then meeting somebody like Dr. Zeb, and it's like, wow, okay, now here is this person that is a brilliant mind, and now I have two big minds that I can kind of bounce off ideas from and become colleagues with them, and then become a resource for them for other areas. And to me, that's the organic nature of really building a mentorship. And, even with Randy, having him as a student under me, it was like, wow, now I'm looking at him and he's just taking off in his career with his DJ gigs, with his, Instagram pages and his following, and just really having, kind of planted his feet like these. I'm going to be unique. And I know these are the things that we always talked about with Randy. Just be you. Just be you. Just be your, natural self. We're going to polish you up a little bit, give you some tips and tricks of the trade. But at the end of the day, you are marketable. You are somebody that people are going to want to hire. You are somebody that people are going to want to listen to. You are someone that people are going to need in their lives. And now you in turn can go back and give back to people like he was talking about before, having a captive audience. That is amazing to think. I met him what, 6 years ago, 5-6 years ago now at this point. And to think that he's now commanding the room, that's what it's all about. You have to have it full circle. And the next level to me of mentorship is family. But I think that we have this family oriented aspect of building relationships and building connectedness within ourselves that other people see and sometimes are intimidated by. I'm not even gonna lie, but those people who really know and who really get it, they want to be a part of that. They want to understand how they can bottle that and duplicate it. But you can't mess with authenticity. It is what it is. And I think that at the end of the day, when you do it right, you build that family, you build the everlasting relationships that are going to continue. And now, Randy's the next generation going out there and being able to bring in, the cohorts of students that are going to follow him. And that's what it's all about. And so as a teacher, as a mentor, those are the things that you want to do. I don't take it lightly when people call me that. And I know that I'm, trying to even expand my network of mentors, because I know that I need, women, I need, men, I need, white, black, whatever it looks like. You have to have those people who are going to be influential on your life in so many different aspects of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well said. That's really well put. I mean, it just, I don't know. It just seems to me like there's something about either Long Island or that part of Long Island or Stony Brook. I don't know what it is, but it's just really interesting, the different collections of people that somehow end up coming together and got involved there. It's just remarkable to me. And so I think, in a way, when that happens, it's almost like you have a duty to do something with it. Try to bring it, share it. That's one of the reasons we do this show. Sometimes, people are like, oh, well, what do you have to say? Well, we just have all we have is what we know, what we've lived, what we can share. And, especially in the times like we're living in right now, with so much being questioned and rethought, it's a time to rethink everything. Everything can be rethought.
Yeah.
And it's being refreshed and it's being rebooted and just reloaded in general. And we want to be, part of that conversation. And so that's why I really appreciate, the comments that both of you, were making about your experiences, because yeah, that's how it's supposed to work. That's how it was for us. Somebody mentored us, and you never think you're going to be the one, you look at them like they just walk on water. I could never do that, and then, and then you look up like, that's, like, I mean, in Randy's case, because since we knew him as a student, just the fact that you are now, in just being the person you always were, but it's just nice to see it come full circle, and, speaking of that, I recall the time that you were on campus at that time, because I know you also went on to do the master's, so you were there for several years, but that was really the last time that people were out there in the streets talking Black Lives Matter, not talking it, but demanding it, and it was a little newer then, but I remember you were involved in a lot of that kind of stuff on campus, leadership stuff too, and it's, a lot of people thought, oh, Black Lives Matter died down, that's over, we're moving on. I can remember if as recently as this semester that just passed, my students even, rightly so, like a lot of people were like, okay, now that's kind of like we're moving on. And then here we are, You know, what is that? I'm wondering. I'd really love to hear what you think. Like, what does it all mean to you? What's happening now, and then from this other perspective.
That's the question I say to myself every day when George Floyd happened. When I saw that video, I was like, oh, something's gonna happen here. Something's like when stories like that get publicized, like something's gonna happen. And
Right.
it happened, right? Watching it definitely did take me back to those Stony Brook days where that whole Ms. U incident happened. And for those who are watching, doesn't know what happened to Ms. U, back in 2015, there was a parade going down in the University in Missouri. I think it was a homecoming parade. And I think it was a float, or it could have been a march, had a bunch of students of color, not all black, but was different groups of students of color. And I believe also faculty staff was in that crowd too, marching down that parade saying, "No, Black Lives Matter," standing for our rights. And there was a few football players there. Now, if you don't know, University of Missouri is a D1 school. Most of their money comes from what? Football. So when that was happening, they were doing a protest towards the president of the University of Missouri. The president, they told their demands, like what they wanted to see more representation of students of color, black students on campus. The president just said nothing, kept his mouth shut, kept it moving. The football team caught wind of that, and they was like, you know what, we're going to protest also. And they protest saying that we're not going to play any football games until the removal of the president is happening, and that a few changes happen. So when all that word came through, I believe that they still played, but the threat enough was a lot for the university to change their minds. And then when they did play, a few days later, their students, especially black students, got notified that there were like racial slurs, nooks around campus, very scary and disturbing images for a student of color to walk down in Missouri, in the South, where most likely the KKK is still running freely down there, to go on campus and just to say racial stuff and hanging nooses. As we all know about that news situation that happened a couple months ago, that took up to a whole another level, and students were afraid. So once, and this was during the time where social media was hot, and we still have, but this was hot. A lot of students, especially us in Stony Brook, heard about it, and throughout, for like a few weeks, you saw a lot of universities just going on protests, sitting at the president's office, demanding a diversity plan. You saw one diversity plan go to another diversity plan at Harvard and NYU, and this school and that school is popping out diversity plans. And I want to shout out ASU. ASU was the first one in Stony Brook to create a march, a protest for the Ms. U incident. And they invited me to ask me, hey, you want to talk? And I said, sure, no problem. That's when we went on the march. I said a few things. I know Deron said a few things. Jarvis said a few things. And that was a very kumbaya, but not really kumbaya, because we were really damn serious. And then I want to get into more later on what happened with those photo pictures with somebody that's in Michigan right now. But that's another time of the story. Anyways, that situation right there, very similar to what's going on right now. And when I'm watching this, I'm like, the fight is going to be long. People are thinking, yo, this is going to be done in a few weeks. Nah, we're talking about defunding police. That's going to take a whole another decade to try to figure out certain people to figure out what we're talking about today about defunding police. You're talking about changing systemic racism. That's going to keep going on for decades and decades and decades. So the fight has started. Now, as I was saying again, when all this is died down, who is the ones going to pick it up? Who are the ones going to keep going?
Yeah.
It's cool to see people saying, arrest Breonna Taylor's killers many times on social media, but then that is something that's getting like, now it's getting tiring. Now it's becoming like a meme. And it's like, okay, we keep saying that, but like, who is the ones that are really pushing this? You know what I'm saying? So that's my take on it. Like, we're here. But how can we all collectively get to where we are, to where we need to be, as we're talking about defund police and do this and do that?
Yeah, man. I'm trying to find a picture right now, but to kind of bring in Rayna on that aspect, like, 'cause, I was talking to a group of protesters and demonstrators in Port Jefferson, which is something I never thought I would see in my life, a demonstration happening there. But one thing I talked about was like phase 2. What's
Right.
phase 2 going like? This is phase 1. You're getting the awareness out there. You're letting people know what's happening, getting people woke, so to speak. But what do you do? Where does the real work start? So I don't know, Rayna, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I think, we have to commend, students like Randy at that time and understand the reflection that's happening right now, um, for him, because yeah, it's kind of like going back in history, like, hey, I did something, or I was a part of something that was, you know, really big for the campus at the time. And, yeah, pictures are great, standing, holding hands and knocking arms. That's, but what are we doing in the long run, in the long haul, for real change? And I think that's, ultimately what he's talking about. And I agree. Things trend for a long time or a little bit of time, and then when stuff gets quiet, what do we do? How do we continue to act on these things and really fight the fight when it's not so desirable anymore to be trendy? And I think that we're kind of at that point now. We're seeing that there are some people that are going to continuously have that fight, and we need to support them at all costs. I feel like, we need to encourage them to continuously do that. Out here in Long Island, there's, this whole rally around, we stand with Jennifer. There's a woman, I forget where her town is. Is it Valley Stream? I forget where her town is, but she's being harassed by her neighbors and things like that. And so many people have rallied around her. They did a march yesterday, and people have literally had stakeouts to protect her home, to protect her. And to me, we need to put efforts and time and energy around those people, because that is still a part of the fight. It's not just the big names, of people who have passed away. It's a lot of, the little situations and the little issues that, need our time and attention. And so, yes, we should be standing with the Jennifers. We should be standing with, the Ahmaud Arbery's, and we should be standing with the George Floyds, but we should be asking the people who are our politicians and our elected leaders to do something. I tend to watch a lot of, not debates, but kind of conversations online. And one of the things that has resonated is, obviously we are in an election year, and this year is going to be an extremely difficult race. But, the biggest conversation is right now, do you vote? How do you vote? The lesser of two evils is what they're coining it as right now. Yeah. This is a part of your fight. It's not just on November 3rd, go to the polls and fight. It's about educating yourself about why you are going to vote the way that you are going to vote. And, funny enough, I always have these conversations with myself, but as my grandmother said, you never talk to yourself because God is always listening. We talk about, oh, well, are you going to vote Democrat or are you going to vote Republican? I think we as a society have been so conditioned into this two-party mentality that we forget that it's not just about, are you a fill in the blank of your party, but it's who do you stand with in terms of your morals and your values. And that is how you align yourself with the continuous fight. Do you align yourself with somebody who is, degrading you, and I can only speak for me as the, female, on this talk. Do I align myself, as a woman with, the government trying to take away my rights? taking away my right to have an abortion, taking away my rights to have birth control. Now it's, oh, well, your employer doesn't have to cover your birth control. So you don't want me to get an abortion, but you don't want me to protect myself to be able to have a bunch of kids, because then you're going to condemn me for being on welfare when I can't afford to have all these kids. But it's not a crime for men to rape me. So it's like, how do I wrap myself around that? As a woman, as a woman of color, now it's, oh, well, she's too educated, or she's so educated she shouldn't put herself in these sorts of situations. These are the things that we have to continuously work to eradicate. Because guess what? At the end of the day, if I am raped and unfortunately someone rapes me and I conceive a child because of that, that is not my choice, And so the government shouldn't be able to dictate what I choose to do with my body to help protect myself in the long run. Because guess what? Then, what does my rapist now have, rights to a child that I did not want? And now I'm in a fight for that. And we see these things depicted on, television shows like, Law and Order. I don't, know how many of you are and anybody watching who watches Law and Order. That was one of the biggest episodes of SVU at a time. And I was like, wow, I don't think that people understand what this show is actually doing. This show is actually showcasing the real reality for women that, are unfortunately raped and conceived, and then they choose to keep the child because whatever beliefs that they have, that is a fight on their own. Like, imagine that sort of torture and torment. So while it may seem like I'm going off on a tangent, I'm really trying to paint the picture of the fact that, we can stand, and fight when it's trending, but it's the topics that are very uncomfortable. It's the times where, we're now fighting for our education. You want us to get 12 degrees, but yet now we have to be in debt to get 12 degrees. When we are fighting, against, a woman who has no experience in any sort of education capacity, she's telling, school boards, will just figure out what your plan is. But yet the school boards are telling you, this is the plan that we are choosing to do. But then she say, no, that's not the ideal plan for what the government wants us to do. So it's like, what are we doing? So we now have, people in education who are fighting to educate and safely educate our children, but yet the government says no. We are fighting this war against people who, are racist, people who are just ignorant in a lot of ways, and that's, usually what I call it, with even wearing masks. I saw something today on Instagram, and it was like, we can wear a helmet, we can wear a seatbelt, and those things are protective agents, but we can't wear a mask. And I stopped and I said, wow, that is one of the most powerful things that I could have ever read, because, your seatbelt and your helmet, yes, it does protect you, but it also could protect somebody else. And yet people don't see that a mask is also protective for themselves and someone else. We are in a society that is so self-absorbed that we're not willing to, fight for others. We talk about, having allyship, and we talk about, what that means. What does it actually mean? It means doing things that are undesirable at times where it's not trending. Black squares are not trending anymore. So what are you going to do with your platform? What are you going to do to fight for women's rights? What are you going to do for fight for educational rights? What are you going to do to fight for unemployment? And the fact that pandemic assistance is going away at the end of the month, and some people, many people, thousands of people are still not at work. What are we doing about those things? How do you sign petitions? You should be, And I mean, I could go on forever about, just the different levels of injustice that we're fighting. But I think ultimately, everybody can play a role. Not everybody is going to get out there and be on the front lines and want to march. Respect that. Allow people to utilize things like their phones to educate those on social media. I have shared so many different things, just on Facebook alone, and have gotten, men and women who are older than me that are like, wow, I didn't know that. Thank you for educating me. Wow, that was important. And to me, I feel like I'm doing my due diligence and fighting the good fight and educating people that are within my grasp with sharing information. Zeb, you are on mute.
I just realized I was so much out taking in. I was like literally talking to myself. But
No,
no, I just want to thank you, for some of the things you were talking about, and thank you for bringing up, because this is precious. This is our time. This is a chance to really reach folks and stuff. And I'm just checking. Thank you to all those who are watching on Facebook Live. We see you. We love you. Thank you for our fan base and supporters. But it does need to be said, especially this thing, we brought up with the masks and stuff. And I really honestly, starting to feel that issue is not one of common sense, because like the profound, quote you read, and I've seen other memes and things like that to make the point, is about something else. And I haven't quite figured out what it all is yet. And I'm not even being coy about that. I mean, but I think some of it has to do with anger. There's an anger out there in the land. I think we've seen that. We saw that with Trump's election. And I'm not even talking about where the anger goes, but I'm just starting with that fundamental precept of anger. And because there's a connection to it. There's just something. All these videos that I've seen where people about the masks, they're already angry. They're angry already, and so it kind of all goes along. Oh, okay, this is a big conspiracy. This is political to keep us down. And I think that even I'm starting to realize that even if whatever, I don't want to be partisan, but we'll see what happens in November with the current occupant of the White House, but it's not likely that anger is going to go away anytime soon, even if he does. And that's kind of what are people so angry about, and what is at the core of that? Why is it the anger outweigh your willingness to keep yourself alive? That's anger. That's right. Deep anger. When it overwhelms your ability to keep your own self safe.
Yeah.
We're in another zone there, and I don't know what the segue there was, but you brought up some interesting stuff.
But brother Doc, just think about how people use the term "all lives matter" as with vitriol. It's almost like all lives matter. I'm like,
right,
okay,
right.
Yes, we know this.
We know this.
But it's like you weaponize something that talks about life. It weaponizes something that talks about unity. It weaponizes something that and kind of bastardizes the whole phrase to kind of make it seem like something different. I'm like, and to your question, Doc, like, why are you so angry?
Mm-hmm.
What you
said 3 words. We just said 3 words. And yeah, you're taking offense like we just made fun of you and everybody in your family that came before. They go, oh no, all lives matter. I don't know what you talking about over there. But again, it's like, yo, your ignorance is present in your mind. Shut up, listen to what I'm saying, and then make a decision from that. I just want to tell them, shut up and listen. Shut up.
Shit. Yeah, man.
Shit.
Just
always listening has so much power than you talking.
Yeah.
You talk a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo sugar honey iced tea and won't make one lickety spit of it, and that's what happened in November 2016. That's where we're living in right now. But if people just learn to just stay silent and then make a decision from there, knowing that you have listened to all sides, you haven't said nothing, and you made a decision. Nobody can say, "Oh, that's not fair." I listen to both sides.
Yeah, it's interesting. The all lives matter conversation really. I'm trying to be nice here. It irritates me on so many different levels, just because if all lives matter, then why are you so concerned about advocating for one group over the other? If all lives matter, why is it not okay for us to focus on those who need us the most? If all lives matter, then why are we not pro-choice? Because if a life is a life upon conception, then why are we not pro-choice as to what a woman wants to do with her body? Because it is her body that is ultimately going through this situation. It is her life. you know, and now we're getting more and more statistics about, you know, Black women dying at the hands of childbirth. That has always been the case. It's always been the case. And, you know, so where is that argument about all lives matter? We are now, you know, hearing more and more, and let's be very honest, the people who choose to come out with their honesty and truth, I really appreciate them. We are now getting more and more medical students, doctors and residents who are coming out and talking about their educational journey to becoming a doctor, and the systemic racism that's, you know, instilled in them from the time of going to medical school is crazy. Oh, you know, Black people, they don't feel pain. Oh, you know, they have thicker skin. You know, women, Black women, they're just stronger than men. Who said that? Like, you know, one of my favorite Portia memes, who said that? Like, and it's only deriving from the fact that you experimented on those people where they didn't have a say back then, you know. Right. And so it's so frustrating because, you know, when I hear people, or not even always hear, but when I see people type the all lives matter, I'm like, your argument, you're negating what the actual point of what we're saying is. Yes, all lives do matter, and that's why we're asking for you to include those that don't look like you. And I always pause, and, you know, sometimes I pose these questions on my Facebook, just like, now what is the real response? And the response you usually don't get. You usually get the anger, you get the frustration, and it's like, well, where does that come from? Why are you so angry? You know,
here you go again, Rayna, using logic and
right.
Common sense to try to understand. You know, you're giving people way a big benefit of the doubt. You know, I mean, in a way, I mean, I'm just kidding, but in a way, you know, when I think that we know the science behind it. You know where that's coming from. It's a little bit like when people used to talk about reverse discrimination.
Oh.
You know, it's really kind of falls into that same area. You know, the famous case of Backy, who you know, sued for claimed reverse discrimination because he wasn't admitted into UC Davis. I think it was like 1970s. And you know, that's where the all lives matter lives. You know, it's like somewhere in there a kind of a cheeky, snappy comeback to something that you don't know anything about, B don't care about, and our survival is, you know, that's it's so in the same tradition that has gone on, you know, where you know, our lives can be decided at the drop of a hat or a handkerchief, you know, because some are feeling, you know, sprightly or funny or spunky, and we can't have that. You know, we have just too much to protect, and it's not in the interest of America either, because, you know, you can't get in your car, drive from here to there without using Black inventions. You can't go to work. You can't wake up, eat breakfast, go to sleep. You can't do nothing. You know, you have used at least 3 or 4 or 6 different inventions by African Americans in this country. So I think I don't know. You know, I just can't do it anymore with the trying to like reason with people, because I think it just must be coming from a different place, and I'm going to call it anger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this before. Like, there's this tax on trying to rationalize things with irrational folk, and it's just like, you know what? Either you're gonna get on this train or you're not, and you're gonna get ran over pretty much if you don't get out the way, because there's this new movement coming where that's not acceptable. And I think another thing that I think where the anger comes from is realizing that a lot of the things that you have built your philosophy on, built your traditions on, are really standing on a lot of like hollow foundation. And as they say in the Bible, you're on sinking sand, you know, Matthew. All right. Am I right? My brother? Am I right? Okay. Thank you. And I think, all right, when you see that starting to crumble, you see that starting to fall down, you're going to start swinging. You're going to start fighting almost like you're backed into a corner. And what I love about this generation that's coming up now, they're like not letting anybody off the hook. They're like, listen, we have more access to information and the truth based on my wife, based off this device right here. And you can't tell us something that we don't know. And I think that once you take that awareness, once you take that, for those who are out there demonstrating, protesting, once you take that awareness and bring that with that energy, kept with the intellectual aspect of calling people out, holding people accountable for certain things. A lot of people don't want to see that. A lot of people in power don't want to see that because for a long time, they've been keeping people asleep. They've been keeping people distracted. They've been keeping people like disconnected, and almost sometimes dismayed about even thinking about trying to come back. But if you see now, even if you're not really watching it on Channel 7 or Channel 2, whatever, people are still sharing demonstrations and still sharing protesting all over the nation. And I can't even say nation to what Dr. Leslie talks about. In regards to what's happening over in Europe. You know, Black Lives Matter is in Europe, and I'm like, wow, oh, that's what your shirt's saying. You want to break that down?
That's the magazine, but shout out to the nation. But yeah, no, but you know, man, you just kicking some profound thoughts right there, and some real gems just in terms of helping us understand. It's what I'm hearing is it's across the board kind of unhappiness and across the board kind of, you know, and it's true. If you've been raised to feel that certain things are going to come to you that are going to be yours just for simply just being, and then they don't, because America's in decline in some ways, and jobs are scarce, which is not a good thing for anybody. And so it happens in a lot of societies. I know as a historian, I know that much, that, you know, it's a very human thing, natural thing to choose to want a scapegoat, you know, somebody to blame, a quick one. Why do I live in a trailer park and someone else lives in, you know, this place? You know, or why do people use terms like white trash, you know, to describe a person? You know, people notice these things and feel these things, and so they might have made that quick grab for Trump, and people are now pulling back. But you know, but it's the anger. You know, we in the world of mental health and psychology, we treat anger as a real, you know, kind of like problem in a sense. You know, you go to anger management, for example. You know what I mean? There's therapy around it. We need to start treating racism like that, because 9 times out of 10, you really strip away somebody saying something racist, and we just say, "Oh, okay, KKK member," you know, but not necessarily, you know. And I have done this kind of work in the classroom and here and there. I'm kind of experimenting with it outside of the classroom too. When you talk to people, eventually you strip it down. There's an incident. Usually 9 times out of 10, there's an incident. Oh man, I was beat up by a bunch of black dudes one time, whatever, when I was a kid, or I got jumped, or, you know, or something. You know, I don't know if these things are true, but all the time. But, you know, there's usually some incident that's triggered it. And my dad, you know, lost his job because, and in their mind, it was because of affirmative action, and we suffered as a family because of that. And people hold on to those kind of things. And so we need to, like, you know, get to the real culprits, Jarvis said, you know, the people, the sort of ruling class, I guess, behind some of those inequalities that people are feeling on all sides, you know, on both sides of the situation. Yeah. So wow, we got into some. This was a real check-in and a cookout check-in.
Yeah.
Some of the issues that we got. I didn't know we were gonna go this heavy. I thought we was gonna be light today.
Yeah, man. It's like, yeah, what's happening in the hip hop? Like, it's like, man, this is. That's right.
That's it. You know, and don't get in the way of it. Don't question it. Embrace it, because this is the new direction for the world, and it's got something in it. People really, I encourage everybody to go to the Movement for Black Lives website, m4bl.org, I believe it is, the number 4, and look at the Black Lives Matter platform, because a lot of people are confused about what it is and what it actually means. It's got a vision for the world post-COVID, post-Trump, post the moment that we're in, post police brutality,
Post
and one
2020.
yeah, post 2020, basically. That's all you have to say. But one that's gonna treat people a little more equally and stuff, a little bit more gently and more caring about the human being.
Right.
What was the website again?
Oh, okay. I believe it's if people don't know the website,
do that real. Yeah.
because sometimes there's a lot of outfits out there posing as Black Lives Matter. People should be aware of that, especially for giving. Please check to make sure that if you're donating to Black Lives Matter, which many people have,
thank you,
that it's the right place. But it's I believe you have it, Jarvis.
Yeah. If you break it down like a fact, hold on, say that website again so I can put on the chat.
I believe this is just from memory, but I believe it's the letter M, the number 4, BL.org. I hope that's right.
Got to find out. Yes, sir. Yep. This is the real Black Lives Matter.
This is it. This is the one. It's sometimes confusing to people because of the movement for Black Lives and what's the connection. But this is the one. Oh, wait a minute. Is this it? Yeah, that's it. Okay, it looks a little different on the iPhone, but yeah, that's definitely it. Yeah.
Okay, I just put it on Facebook just now. Yeah. Yeah,
policy platform, information about defund the police. People are concerned about what does that mean versus abolishing the police, and a lot of real answers, and that vision, that prophetic vision about what's coming next. These sisters came up with Black Lives Matter years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, and in response to the killing of Trayvon Martin, and it is now the worldwide ideology, philosophy, and vision. So I hope everybody will have a chance to check that out.
I appreciate it, because I think I'll be going to the wrong website. So I appreciate you always learning. You're always learning something. That's why we have these opportunities to share, because sometimes you just be going down the wrong path. It's a little bit of light, kind of like get you right. So thank you, brother.
Yeah.
But let's keep it. Yeah. So it looks like we are to the 6 o'clock mark, a little bit over. But
we're at that mark.
Yeah. I don't know if I still go or
great conversation.
Yeah, man. But I really appreciate it. Yes. Go ahead, Rayna.
Yes. Say hey, brother.
Speak up.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's that quiet storm voice.
Like, yeah, you know what
I'm saying? No, Sister Rayna, I do want to say also that you watching your growth also. You're talking about me, my growth, but your growth also from when I saw you back in 2012, 2013. I will say I was intimidated by you, because you have a presence, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people would say also, I was intimidated by Rayna first. You have a presence, but once we got to know you, and saw not the real you, but the soft. No, I don't want to say that also. But
so
the
still
real.
You still got him, baby. You still got him.
But nevertheless, your undivided love, attention, care resonates not only to me but the group of students that you have mentored, the Etlins and the Dianas and the Sabs and the Sasses, a lot of Sasses, to tell you that you definitely left a legacy. You're gonna leave and I'm trying to say this many times, legacy. You're gonna leave a legacy there. You're gonna keep on increasing your legacy, and I could definitely see you just going above and beyond of whatever you decide. You're talking about me doing what I gotta do. I'm seeing you. You're doing what you gotta do, and I can't see what that Rayna is gonna be tomorrow or next week or 10 or 5 years. You always got me on the corner, even though we don't talk all the time. Just know that you continue like, yo, I'm like, what's up? What you need? I got you. Because again, we're talking about family, right? I consider everybody here my family. Because again, y'all saw me grow up from being a high school student all the way to a damn adult that pays taxes. Now I'm not gonna stop saying that I pay damn taxes. But just to know that you guys are there, especially for you, Rayna. You know, you're always there and always saying some real stuff, and I'm just happy that you're always there in my life consistently. So, love you.
Man, that's what I'm talking about.
Jarvis, can you play "She's Your Queen" to do something back?
You know what? Good night.
You know what's coming up?
Y'all are funny. Yes.
Nah, man, but yeah, as we wrap up, go ahead, Ring.
That's it. All I just say is stay tuned. I think that's what we all can say is I think we're all on the brink of just change and just strength and growth. And it's exciting to be, you know, with movers and shakers. Like I will really say that to be, you know, able to be invited to have conversation with people who are just such pillars in the community and having access to them, you know, at a drop of a dime. Stuff like that is invaluable. Like I could not put a price tag on any of that, on these relationships that I've built. And I just encourage people to continuously do that in their lives, to seek out people who are really going to be supportive and who are going to push you, because it's complacency. There should be no room for complacency. My line sister, she always says she doesn't deal with anything mediocre. And so when you have people that are like that in your life and who always push you and want you to strive to be better and to do more, those are people who you really need in your corner. Those are the people who are absolutely the right people to have beside you during your walk, not behind you, but definitely beside you, you know, during your walk and your journey. And, you know, the best is yet to come. I think, you know, Zeb and Dr. J, y'all have built something that's a platform for us, you know, to have access to, you know, to be able to, you know, come on a Facebook Live, a Zoom session or whatever, you know, meet people virtually and just be able to ask them questions in a comfortable and safe space. That's dope, you know. And I always challenge people that even though we are in this world of COVID, look at the beauty that has happened with COVID. Some people have learned so many different and new skills because they've had to just stay home and rely on themselves and not just other people. And you know, we've built this virtual world where now many people have a platform that didn't have a platform, you know, 8 months ago, and they're able to use technology to their advantage in a different way. And so there's been some beauty out of it. Listen, I appreciate the fact that, you know, in the restaurant, you got to wear a mask before you hold my plate of food. Yes, you should be doing that. You know what I mean? Yes, I appreciate that. But, you know, there's real beauty in this stuff. I have friends who are in the fashion industry who have their business have taken off because of, you know, being innovative with doing masks and stuff like that. So, you know, there's beauty behind the sadness. There's always a rainbow at the end of you know, a storm. My nickname is Rainbow, by the way. So, you know, there's that. So I just appreciate y'all. Y'all are just dope. Y'all are really dope gentlemen, and I'm just grateful to be amongst, you know, y'all tonight. And
Lady Queen, Rayna, thank you.
Man.
Thank you. That's
Thank you.
and you know, I think future is looking, but it could be television after this podcast for you, I believe, because after some of the things dropping today, I don't know where this is all going, but I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. As y'all are paying homage, I just want to give homage, homage, however you say it, to Randy. We actually have the intro queued up, so we want to give the last few minutes to kind of let that play so everybody can see and hear together. So let me share that screen right quick, and Randy, let this stuff shine.
Is it? All right. Is that anthem?
Is it me or is it like moving slow?
I don't know. I can't hear it.
See, Jarvis
Can't hear it? Can't hear it?
No.
All right.
You know, technology, it's interesting.
That's what love. We got technology. Pull that back, selector.
A little bit. We got a little bit.
Pull that back, selector.
That's dope.
Man,
Hey,
that's right there, man. I think
talent. That's talent.
Funky. Funkee.
I want you to come back to the show soon with some of that music, though. You know,
Yeah, man.
next time you come play, we're gonna hear. You know, that'd be nice.
Oh yeah, that other beat I made for y'all too. Yeah, I gotta play that also later on.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is the opportunity for us to give you real talk about real issues in real time. The Rejected Stone podcast, Rejected Stone Productions. Just want to give a shout out as we roll out to Randy Ferguson. Keep making them hits in all areas.
Trying
to continue to shine your rainbow and shine your light. Two people that just always just warm my heart and inspire me to keep doing the right thing and doing it well. And y'all already know where it's coming from. Doc.
Absolutely.
And
thank you all, everybody. Thanks again for coming on to the show. And yeah, I feel the same way. This is always a meaningful experience and worthwhile just to sit down and chop it up, because if we don't talk as a community, if we don't talk as people, how are we going to find out the answers to the solutions for our own survival? And that's not even an exaggeration. It never really was, but it definitely isn't now. So I appreciate all of you just heading into this weekend, and I feel my heart is full. So I appreciate everybody. Appreciate the show. Just being on the show. I mean, and so as we say at the end, Twende.
Twende, Swahili for let's go, let's begin, yeah. So if y'all can say it with us, Twende.
Wait, let's practice. Do a practice run.
Doing a practice run, sir.
Say it.
Make sure I say the right vernacular.
Right, go ahead. What do you got?
You go.
Twindly.
Ah, that was it.
That's why
It's like,
yeah, you know. I ain't talking for accent because I ain't trying to offend nobody.
no, man.
Go.
Yeah, man. So, that is cool. So, you want to try one more time, man?
All together. Let's all do it all
All
together.
right. 3, 2, 1.
Twende.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for joining us, and be safe, be blessed, and we are out of here.
Hey, have a good night.
Dude.
The revolution will not be televised.